Hello, everyone. My name is Alec Cuenca. I am the host of the podcast, Small Talk Podcast, self improvement podcast here in the Philippines. It's under Podcast Network Asia. And I create motivational and inspirational content on TikTok and Instagram as well. And I also host.
Hi, Alec. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast. So, I'd like to ask, of course, before we go into our topic, how are you? How are you during this time?
I'm going through a lot of changes, especially with the podcast. The podcast has brought me a lot of opportunities, and my personal life has been going through a lot of changes. But I guess this has been a more calm year by far, and the 2020 hasn't really been like the worst year. I know a lot of people would say na 2020 is the worst year ever. Ever since I started creating content, my life has been improving on a consistent basis, and right now I can say I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good about everything.
That is so good to hear. Of course, you're the owner of Small Talk Podcast, the top two, self motivation mindset podcast here in the Philippines. So I'd like to know, like any other people, I'd like to know what's the story behind this creation of content that inspires a lot of people. Tell me about it.
Back in 2017, I experienced my first ever heartbreak.
Oh.
And you know how it goes when you're young and you experience your first heartbreak. You think that the world's going to end. And so I became very depressed. I did what every other reckless, naive young man would do. I wrecked my life even more. And back then I was studying. And when I did that, I wasn't able to focus on my studies. I wasted my life basically. I drank a lot, I smoked, I even tried different drugs, and there was a point that I just couldn't handle everything. So I decided, you know what, I think life's not for me. So trigger warning, like I wanted to end my life there. And then when I was going to do it, I said, okay, I'm gonna give life one more chance. So when I did, I opened my phone, and there was my mother calling me, telling me to come back home. And when I went home, I said, nah, okay, I need to fix my life. So I focus on just improving myself on a day-to-day basis. And I realized that there are a lot of people who are going through the same stuff that I went through, and I wanted to be that somebody to remind them that whatever they're going through, it's okay. It's normal. People go through that stuff. And so I created the podcast. I was doing YouTube back then, but more on like vlogging and all that kind of stuff. But I said I needed a platform where I could really talk to people, or at least share my insights on my experiences. And I know a lot of people are experiencing the same thing. So I started Small Talk on YouTube. But I said, nah, the edit, it's really hassle. Yeah. And so I was reading a book that time. It's called Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. And he said that the future is audio. I read about podcasting. That was the first time I heard about podcasting. And I thought before that podcasting was just some radio show that people play music and people give shout outs. But it wasn't. It was a very short form content, probably longer than the YouTube videos, but it was a very intimate platform where you just feel like you're a part of the conversation. You just feel like you're one-on-one with this person. And I said, I'm going to bring Small Talk to that. So I brought Small Talk there, and then I created a lot of episodes, and surprisingly, a lot of people can relate to the content that I put out. And fast forward, here I am right now.
Now you're here. You do a
Yeah.
great job at what you do. You inspire a lot of people to your words and wisdom. And I have to, congratulate you because it's a wonderful gift. Because not everyone is brave enough to create a platform and share their life experiences. Not everyone can do that. But you're here, embracing this platform, sharing to everyone what you've experienced, and hoping that people could learn a thing or two from that. And that's so amazing. So congratulations to you. Speaking of your content about motivation and the right mindset, I think it leads us to our topic today. Topic is about finding motivation and having a purpose amid pandemic. And we're still in the middle of a pandemic. We're still in the middle of a crisis. And although I understand that everything is starting to open already and temptations are around us, but the reality is the virus is still here. So the things that were quote unquote normal to us before are still very limited. Like for example, with work and school, we're very limited with when it comes to like the setting and the first-hand experiences, the first-hand type of learning. That's why whenever I ask my friends, whenever I ask my med school friends or students or my college friends who are working right now, whenever I ask them, how are you doing during this time? How are you coping up with the situation? While some of them would answer that they're okay, they're doing, they're adjusting, they're making the best out of the situation. Most of them, most of the answers would have a root answer of, I don't have the motivation to do anything. I feel like I could not accomplish anything. I could not do anything. I can't look forward to doing anything because, for the next few months, I'm still at home. I'm still stuck at home. I can't hug my friends. I can't be with them. I can't travel. So, these things, affect their mindset, their perspective about, pursuing something. So it really boils down to not having the motivation. So I'm going to ask you, what do you do when you find yourself in this kind of situation that, you can't get up because you don't have any motivation at all?
Yeah, and before I answer that, I just want to reiterate the point. I know 2020 is a really hard year, and even for me,
Yes.
but I guess it was the main test of the things that I was preaching about like 2, 3 years ago. Like we as human beings, or most of us are trained to, well, we are gifted, like we are gifted with the consciousness of thinking about the past, thinking about the present, but it's that consciousness that also brings a lot of danger and a lot of that just scars our mental health, because we get obsessed with things that are out of our control. And so when 2020 happened, when the pandemic happened, it was clearly out of our control. It's something that destroyed all of our plans. Lahat ng mga pangarap natin, all the plans that we made, wala. It was erased. And so I think we had a lot of hard time giving up that control and just, focusing on the reality that there is the pandemic happening. But to answer your question, and I'm gonna be honest, like I completely feel the same way. Like there are days in my life that I don't want to do anything. Like I know I need to do something. I plan the next day, but when you wake up the next day, you just don't want to get out of bed. And the thing that I do is just start. It's a lot of people think that action is the effect of motivation. But the truth is, action is not only the effect, it's also the cause of motivation. So if you want to be motivated, then you got to act first. Like and it doesn't need to be something huge. You don't need to finish your assignments or modules. It just need to be something. You just need to do something. Maybe brush your teeth, maybe just get up and make some coffee. Just do anything. And the simple act of doing something will make your brain see that you're making progress, and that progress will make you feel more confident and will let you get that motivation back from where it was used to be. And so when I feel that way, talagang I just push myself na just one line, just write one line. You don't want to record your podcast, then just write the title. And 99% of the time when I write the title, I then follow up on the content of the podcast episode. So just by me pushing myself to do the simplest thing, which is the title, pushes me to get back the motivation and continue with the momentum, and makes me, accomplished. And so even if you don't want to do it, even if you feel like you don't have the motivation to do it, you just need to do it. Do anything, and it will get back your motivation. Yeah.
Yes, that is so true. I think people are confused with the word motivation. Parang, kasi motivation doesn't need to be complicated. Doesn't need
Yeah.
to be such a big, like, especially kasi motivation doesn't come around always. It comes
Mm-hmm.
and goes, especially if you get it from an external source. If you think that you're getting motivation from the outside, it comes and goes. It's very fleeting. But once you realize that motivation could, as what you said, motivation could come from the simplest of things. Like for me, I get motivated to study in the morning because I get to have my iced coffee.
Yeah.
As simple as that, right? I get
Yes.
to, I'm excited. I get motivated to work out because I get to wear my favorite workout clothes. It's like those simple things, and you have no idea how much great of an impact or like great effect you're doing by those little things. Small progress. As cliche as it sounds, small progress could lead to the bigger picture.
Yeah, and I want to add on that. A lot of people think that we need to rely on motivation to actually do something. It's hard. Our motivation is like a muscle. And when we always rely on that muscle to move, it's going to be, if you're not going to, and you can't really rely on that muscle to keep you on forever kasi merong limit yan. So when you overwork your muscle, it needs to rest. It needs to just, not do anything.
Yes.
And but the thing is, if you rely on that muscle, mapapagod ka lang. That will is very limited. The thing that you need to do to help you out with that is to build a system, to build an environment that helps you with the things that you need to do. So, for example, you need to study. Then, first and foremost, you need to, as you said, make some triggers or some cues that makes you excited, not really connected to the thing that you're gonna do. So it's iced coffee, right? So
Yes.
you build a system that makes you really want to do something, even if you don't want to do it, right? So those are the happy triggers that you need to set up. Set up your environment. Habits plays a huge role. For quite some time, I didn't like reading books. But right now, it's a part of my habit. So even if I don't want to do it, I go there and I do it. Like it's a part of me. And
Yes.
when you become, and when you practice a habit, you make a habit, it becomes you. And you don't need to rely on muscle to push you to do that anymore. You just do it for the sake of it.
Yes. I think that also connects to the value of discipline, you know, because
Yes.
most successful people right now, they don't have the motivation to do things every day, to accomplish things every day. They just do it because they know that at the end of the day, they're going to feel proud about themselves because they did it, despite what they're feeling. Although we're not saying if you're not feeling if you're exhausted and you're demotivated, parang you're declining in life. It's not that thing.
Hmm.
Actually, the word demotivated is actually not a negative term. Pausing for a while and then reflecting and knowing again, parang you just get to rest again. That's part of self-improvement, I think. Getting to actually part of, growing still, diba?
Yeah, and we're not taking that away from anybody. Like rest is very important, and I hope we could talk about more of that in a little bit. But what we're technically saying is that when there are days that you're not really tired, you just feel lazy. You don't want to do it. You know you can do it, but you don't want to do it. That's when this rule applies. No, do something rule. Just do anything,
Yes.
and yeah, I
Yes.
think I think that covers it up. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I have to add lang for those people, for our listeners right now who might think that they're parang there are days during the quarantine, especially now, that they're stuck at home. They may feel like they're not achieving anything. They
Hmm.
may feel like stuck. But actually, you're doing your job as a Filipino citizen, right now. The virus is still there, still out there. So if you feel useless, if you feel powerless, you're the opposite of it. If you're stuck at home, you have the power to not be susceptible around the virus. If you stay at home, you have the power to not risk your life, to not risk your
Hmm.
loved ones. So don't feel powerless when you find yourself in a situation na parang you're thinking, "Na, I'm just at home, my friends are, doing something again. They're like going back to the normal again." No, you're the opposite of powerless. You're doing the right thing. You're saving our country because I'm part of the medical community. I'm a medical student and I know what is happening right now. The real things happening right now in the hospital, the behind the scenes, what's presented in the news, the behind the scenes of, the frontliners. I'm aware of that. So, the virus out there is very serious. So you're doing your job, staying at home. Congratulations to you. Yan.
Yes, and I really agree with everything that you said. With the pandemic, there are a lot of people. Well, for me personally, like I don't really want people to see like, okay, you've achieved so much in the pandemic. No, it's just that there was a demand for the service that I provided during the pandemic that helped me do this. But I didn't really said now, okay, there's this pandemic, I need to accomplish things. Like it just fell into pieces. But one thing that I always remind people who are listening to me, like the pandemic is here, and if you survived, you did a great job. Like that's the only focus that we need to do
Healthy
right
right
now.
now. You're doing a good job. You know?
Yes, if you're alive, you're doing a good job.
Diba? Health right now is the number one priority and number one parang goal of everyone to be healthy.